Okay, everybody. So, our next review of the day is going to be for Ready or Not 2. Here I come. They didn't fuck up the title of the sequel like Now You See Me. They didn't wait till the third movie to do the other end of the phrase. Now you see me, now you don't. They actually did it, so that's pretty good. So at least it wins on that accord of
Yeah, Radio
doing that.
Silence, they know their audience.
So with Ready or Not, Here I Come, this is the sequel to the first Ready or Not movie, which was directed by Radio Silence, and that team is back again to direct it. This sequel here, people might know Radio Silence. They did the 2 Scream movies, 5 and 6 there. They also did Abigail, and with this movie here, so it's immediately after the events of the first film, like it very much like right when the first film ends. This one picks up here where you have after the events of the first film where the whole house is burning down, everybody's dead, you see a bloodied and battered.
The whole movie implying that, this pact with the devil is possibly bullshit, only to deliver on that in the most satisfying way by having the entire family just explode.
Which was a good moment at the end. Very good comedian. And I actually rewatched the first film again today because I hadn't watched it since it came.
Yeah, the first movie is fantastic. It is one of my annual rewatches come Halloween season. It's one of my favorite horror movies of the 2010s.
Yeah. So immediately after the events of that one, where you have that, but now that once you think Grace, she thinks everything's good, everything's done now. She beat her.
Made it.
She made it. She was the final girl. Samora Weaving there.
Now she's to her bed in the hospital. It's like, yeah, that's probably how this would go.
Yeah. And then she thinks, but there's another game to play here. She wins that one, but there's another higher level game with higher stakes, where the stakes in this is like control over the entire world. And we mean literally control over the entire world.
We see like the head of this this cabal, and it's played by David Cronenberg, who is like watching the news, and he literally just makes a phone call and says, "Okay, do the ceasefire."
Yeah, I mean, he makes one phone call, and that's it. I mean, like, so literally, and basically, it's like these family. You have more rich families here in this that are also Satanists there, and you have the head of the kind of all these families, which is the David Cronenberg character there, who has 2 children, 2 twins, who are played by Sarah Michelle Gellar there, and Sean Hattie there.
Sean Hattie, who you all know now as Dr. Jack Abbott on the Pit.
You about to say the bear, the pit there. But he has two children there who are 2 twins there. And when he hears the news that what Grace did of killing I forgot the name of that family again.
Yeah, the Ladomas family.
He's like, well, that's going to enact a new set of rules where the families there have to compete for another game. Now he realizes he's too old to do that, so he tells his 2 children to kill him, and so they can compete for him, basically. But basically, what it is, it's like an all or nothing thing where you have we see all these other different rich, evil Satanist families kind of fly in, and compete. Same game, hide and seek, and if they win, whoever kills her gets the one ring to rule them all and everything like that. But this time there's an added addition because you have Samora Weaving now has a sister in this one, where it's played by Caitlin Dever. There, people might know Caitlin Dever. She was in the Ant-Man movie. She was in
that's Catherine Newton, who
sorry,
correct actress, right movie, different name.
Sorry, Catherine Newton there. All these white women, man, all these white women get Catherine Newton there. Sorry, who was in the Ant-Man movie there. She was in Pikachu. She was in that movie, the Pokemon movie.
And just in Abigail, which is also Radio Silence.
Yes, she was also in another radio. So yeah, Abigail there as well. So she joined her there, her long lost sister there that she lost touch with that. So she is joining her there in this game of hide and seek there on her team. So we have some added additions to this. Nick, what are your thoughts, man? Ready or Not 2?
So with a movie like Ready or Not, where that felt so fresh and so new for for horror comedy, how it really balanced that the clashing tones. I think that they do just as good a job here, but some of the charm is lost because, this is, by nature of it being a sequel, a lot of the surprise is gone.
Mm,
So it ends up just being a kind of more of the same film, but I still had a great time watching this.
mm, interesting. Yeah, I think that's kind of it goes into one of my many issues with this sequel, that it is kind of just more of the same. And watching the first movie again, I was like, this had a freshness to it.
Mhm.
And this kind of had more of a fun kind of good thing with it. And stuff with the family as well. You spend a lot of time with the family. The family lives all the way up until the end. The people that mostly die is just the help there in the movie. They're the ones that really
Yeah,
provide a lot of the
they keep
death in the movie.
accidentally killing the help in one of the better running jokes of that movie.
Yeah, so that I mean, that's kinda like one of the running gags, and which is funny. I mean, that's kind
Mhm,
of a funny bit there. And here, the families that get introduced here, I don't really you don't really I feel like you don't really
mhm.
don't know much about them. They're not as
Yeah,
interesting as the other
yeah,
family from
they
the
all
first movie.
kind of have the same personality of just asshole rich family, but I think the one exception is, a character who's played by Olivia Chang, who is, like, the second she gets the call, she's, like, having her lawyers look at the bylaws for this whole satanic cabal, and is at least somewhat trying to look for a different angle than
Mm.
just kill her.
Yeah. And the thing about these people is that they're supposed to be I mean, there's a scene where the cousin of, the Sarah Michelle Gellar
Mhm,
and, Sean Hannity character says like, "Well, they've been training this their whole lives. They've been ready for this." And
mhm.
it seems like, I don't know, not really. I mean, these people are supposed to be more
They
expertly
kinda suck
trained.
at they kinda suck at this also.
Yeah, this doesn't seem that way. And it doesn't seem like also some more weaving the fact that she's already lived through this already,
Mhm,
Grace. You don't really see her apply any new skills or knowledge that she learned
mhm,
maybe from doing this already. Like, okay, well, now I'm got my sister with me. Here's some things that we could do to
mhm.
survive. And here's what I kind of maybe learned from the first
Well,
time.
they also kind of had that added desperation in it because, while Grace has lived through this before, her sister hasn't, and they're literally handcuffed together for like the first bit of the game.
Yeah. And Catherine Newton, I like her. I've liked her in some other stuff there. I think their dynamic was terrible. I didn't really
Mhm,
like the sister dynamic. I thought it was it's very repetitive and annoying because their whole thing is that, Grace, she left her when she was a kid. She went to New York and it's like, you just left me. And they do that shit over and over. They do that three, four times throughout the movie. I was like, this is literally life and death. And you sitting here arguing about her leaving you all those years ago and when going to New York. Like, this is and you sitting here arguing that in the open too. Like they're at first they first start out at a golf course wide open, and you sitting here arguing about her leaving you for New York. I was like, that just got on my nerves
mhm.
a lot. What were you think about the dynamic between the two of
Yeah,
them?
I kinda felt that a little bit too. I don't mind that dynamic. I just feel like in the first movie, they knew when to take a pause and take a breath, especially with Grace and her, husband in that movie. They knew when to take a breather and explore that dynamic in, like, little bits. And here, it's just kind of repetitive, and they keep doing it at very inopportune times, but that is almost never used to, like, build tension. It's
Yeah.
like, eh have an argument and let that be like a thing that lets one of the families get a lead on them.
Mm. And, watching the first one again also was like, I mentioned how fresh it felt,
Mhm,
and also funny it was, the like I said,
mhm,
stuff with the help, like them dying, the stuff with also like her trying to escape there, like all that stuff. Like they blended a lot of good, like Radio Silence is kind of known to do at this point, like even
mhm,
stuff with Abigail, like blending the horror and the action and the comedy in a very good manner there.
mhm,
And then in this one, there's like a couple of scenes that reminds me like why I like the first movie where like the scene, there's a scene where she fights one character in a dance hall
Oh,
there.
yeah, that scene is awesome.
Like
I love that scene.
that's a great scene. I thought that really works really well. You mentioned how you kind of lose that now that there's a sequel. Like,
Mhm,
and then one of the things you lose is like, like what to expect is like the
mhm,
exploding thing. Like now you've come to expect that, so it's not as fresh as it was in the
mhm.
first one. It only works for me at the beginning with there's a character that explodes because of Catherine Newton's reaction to that because it's her first time seeing it, so it's
Yeah,
like that really works.
yeah,
And then at the end.
yeah, yeah, at the very end, the explosion thing, it's a gag that has kind of run its course, at least until, like, the very end of this movie, and I can't really say that without going into spoilers, but yeah, I kind of agree wholeheartedly for you. This is just kind of a lesser film than the original movie, but when comparing that, the original is one of my favorites of the 2010s, and this movie is just okay.
Mm. Yeah, so I think they and also I think they do the whole explosion thing, maybe a little at excess, I think,
Mhm.
in this. And I know they did it a lot at the end, but you had not seen it but prior to that movie.
Mhm.
That was like the
Yeah,
whole big
there's like
capper
an
at the end.
element of like doubt throughout the entire movie that is this satanic ritual like a thing? And even if it is, or okay, how is the bill gonna come due?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, the characters aren't as interesting this time around. Like I said, they're just rich asshole number two, rich asshole number three, rich asshole number five, you
There
know.
there is a little bit of shade and dimension to the characters played by Sarah Michelle Gellar and Sean Hattasey, but I don't think it's explored nearly well enough.
Yeah. Out of all the rich assholes, yeah, they get the most time out of
Mhm,
everybody, out of that. But yeah, and I like Elijah Wood. He comes in. He's the
mhm.
lawyer. He works a little bit. I think he works as like the evil satanic lawyer. I think he kind of works there as that, and he's fine. What'd you think about like now that they're doing this new game here? And them setting up all these rules and all these other did you think it was like a little like, okay, should I be like, is this homework? Should I be writing this down? Like, is there like a notepad, a journal or something? Like, did you
Uh,
think it was a little too much
I
rules and
No, no, I feel like the rules felt like a natural progression of the rules that were established in the first movie, and even then, that one was kind of loosey goosey. Like the only rules really are that none of the family's representatives can kill each other, even accidentally,
yeah.
and they
Uh,
can only use weapons that were around at the time that their family made their deal.
yeah. That's the thing there too. So that adds an interesting kind of thing into
Mhm.
it. And some more she's still taking a beating in this. I mean,
Mhm.
there's a lot of stuff there that happens to her and the sister too. There with that. Yeah, I just think that the big thing about this movie is that it's just not as good as the first one, and I
Mhm.
think it's weaker in every element than the first one. And I think it suffers because of that for sure. And I mean, if you're a person who, let's just say you never saw the first one and you saw this one, would you like it? I mean, I don't know. It's hard for me to assess that really there to kind of judge that. But yeah, I think that's kind of a big thing about this movie too. And also, I think you had a chance to like with the whole element of uh I guess like doing what they do. I don't want to spoil what happens at the end,
Mhm.
but doing what you do at the end there of like with the whole ring and everything like that element, you really had a chance to really do something kind of better than I think what you did for me. What will be your final thoughts rating there?
Uh, let's see. I don't think this movie is bad at all. I still, have my complaints about it, but I feel like the positives for me kind of outweigh a lot of the negatives that I have. I do think that while a lot of the supporting cast are kind of like very cartoonish and kind of one dimensional, I still had fun watching this for the most part.
Okay, so what will be your rating?
Uh, I would give this like a high stream it, bordering on tune in. The only thing is that this is just an inferior movie to its predecessor.
Mm, yeah, I give it like a lowish stream it.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
everything this movie did, the first movie does better.
Yeah. And the kills, I mean, there's some okay kills. There's one kill in like a wash machine. That's
Oh,
pretty
that
fun.
one that
That's
one got me, especially like the debate between the two sisters because, the first thing they try to get like a phone and they're like kind of standing outside the machine and it was like, "Okay, how long do we let this go?"
Yeah. Like, again, that stuff like that reminds me of like, "Oh, this is why I like the first one," and then, yeah, it's just kinda like, they don't do a lot more stuff like that, and it's like, that's a shame. But yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know. Can they do a 3rd one? Is there another part of the phrase already not here,
I
I
don't I
thought?
don't know. The way this movie ends, I wouldn't be surprised if this is the last one.
Okay. Yeah. They kind of lock themselves in because they
Yeah,
can't do it.
they kind of wrote themselves into a corner with the way this movie ends.
Yeah. And then with the title of the movie, Ready or Not, it's like they can't do like a new game at the second movie. They can't all of a sudden play Twister. You know what I mean? Like that also kind of adds to it's like they can't do like a new game. It's like, okay, you kind of locked yourself into hide and seek, that kind of element there with that. So with that. So yeah, so you give it a stream,
Yeah,
I give it a lowest
I feel
stream.
like of all the Radio Silence movies to have made a sequel, I'm surprised they went with Ready or Not instead of something like Abigail, which, I think would have served more.
Mm, okay. Yeah. So that was our thoughts on it.